My child, there will come a day when you stand before a mirror and see not only your reflection, but your choices staring back at you. You will be tempted, as we all have been, to point your finger toward the world, to blame the unfair teacher, the cold friend, the parent who misunderstood. But life, dear one, does not grow in the soil of excuses. It blossoms only when watered with responsibility. The educated soul does not seek refuge in blame. True education is not merely the reading of words, but the reading of one's own heart. It is the courage to ask, what part did I play in the story of my struggle? That question is the beginning of wisdom. The uneducated may hold a degree, but the wise hold themselves accountable. When you say, they made me fail, you surrender your power. When you say, I could have done better, you reclaim it. Responsibility is not a burden, it is your freedom. It gives you the authority to change, to correct, to rise. Those who live in blame remain chained to their past. Those who live in responsibility walk toward their future with dignity. Let me teach you something, child. When a man blames another, he blinds himself. He cannot see the lessons life has laid before him. But when he owns his choices, even his mistakes become teachers. The universe bends toward the one who takes ownership. In every classroom, every home, every heart, there must be a reckoning with this truth. No one else is responsible for your becoming. Teachers may guide you, parents may support you, friends may inspire you. But you, only you, must do the work of becoming who you are meant to be. Each decision, each silence, each response shapes the person you are. Education demands not just memory, but maturity, not just knowledge, but accountability. To learn is to grow, and to grow is to accept that your path is yours alone to walk. So when the world grows unkind, when circumstances press upon you, do not rush to accuse or to justify. Stand still, breathe, and ask yourself, what can I do? What lesson lies within this moment? That is the question of the responsible soul. That is the education of the heart. Would you like me to continue this speech into a powerful motivational closing, like Maya Angelou would end with poetic strength, or keep it strictly educational and reflective? My child, there will come a day when you must stand before yourself, not in pride, not in shame, but in truth. You will look within and realize that every decision you made, every step you took, every word you spoke, they belong to you. Not to your neighbor, not to your friend, not even to your enemy. They belong to you alone. That is the moment you will begin to understand what it truly means to be responsible for yourself. You see, we live in a world that loves to shift the blame. We blame the weather, the system, the people, the circumstances. We blame our past, our pain, our upbringing. But no matter how many fingers we point outward, the truth remains unmoved. The power to change, to grow, to rise has always been in our own hands. When you blame others, you give away that power. You surrender your ability to improve. Blame is a thief that steals your energy and your future. Responsibility, on the other hand, is the bridge between where you are and where you wish to be. An educated mind does not run from accountability. It seeks understanding. Real education is not just the gathering of facts, but the cultivation of wisdom. And wisdom whispers that every outcome in your life has roots in your own choices. You cannot control how the world treats you, but you can control how you respond. You cannot rewrite your past, but you can shape your future through awareness and discipline. Responsibility is not punishment. It is empowerment. It says, I am the author of my own story. When you begin to take responsibility for yourself, you also begin to see others with clearer eyes. You stop expecting them to carry your weight, and instead you carry your own. You begin to treat people with compassion because you understand that they too are fighting battles of accountability. You no longer envy their success or despise their mistakes. You learn from both. You grow into a person who understands that life is not about what happens to you, but how you handle what happens to you. There will be times when you stumble, times when you fail, times when you wish the world would rescue you from yourself. But it is in those moments that your true strength is forged. Take them not as reasons to blame, but as lessons to learn. Each mistake has something to teach you if you are willing to listen. Each hardship is an education in courage, in patience, in endurance. The person who learns to stand up after falling is wiser than the one who never stumbled. Responsibility teaches you resilience. It shows you that life will not always be fair, but fairness is not the goal. Growth is. To take responsibility for yourself is to accept that you are still becoming, that every sunrise offers another chance to begin again. The world may not owe you anything, but you owe yourself everything: effort, honesty, and the courage to own your life completely. There comes a time in every person's journey when the easy path of blaming others no longer satisfies the soul. Blame may soothe the mind for a moment, but it does not heal the heart. It keeps you stagnant, tied to the same mistakes, walking in circles around your pain. Reflection, however, leads you forward. Reflection is the mirror of the wise. It does not accuse, it reveals. It asks not a who did this to me, but a what can I learn from this? That is where strength begins. When you look inward instead of outward, you begin to see the truth of your own power. Life is full of people who will wrong you, situations that will disappoint you, and moments that will test your patience. It is easy to say, they made me angry, or they made me fail. But no one holds that kind of power over you unless you hand it to them. You cannot grow while you are busy blaming. Growth requires you to pause, to breathe, to ask yourself what part of your reaction was yours to own. The one who reflects learns, while the one who blames repeats. Every challenge you face carries a lesson designed for you alone. When you point outward, you miss the lesson. But when you turn inward, you start to uncover wisdom. The truth is, life does not happen to you. It happens through you. The way you respond, the choices you make, the words you choose, they are all reflections of who you are becoming. Reflection gives you control. It allows you to see yourself clearly, to acknowledge your mistakes without drowning in guilt, and to correct your path with dignity. Blame is easy because it asks nothing of you. It requires no courage, no humility, no growth. But reflection demands honesty. It asks you to face yourself, to look at your weaknesses and your strengths with equal compassion. That kind of honesty can feel uncomfortable, even painful, because it strips away the stories we tell ourselves to feel safe. But it is only through that discomfort that transformation begins. When you reflect, you begin to understand not only what happened, but why it happened, and what it has come to teach you. You will meet people who refuse to reflect. They will live their lives as victims of every storm. They will blame their parents, their teachers, their bosses, even fate itself. But those who live by reflection walk a different road. They understand that every experience, pleasant or painful, holds the potential to make them wiser. They use reflection as a compass, guiding them toward growth, peace, and maturity. In reflection, there is power. It teaches you that while you cannot control others, you can control your response. It teaches you that healing does not come from revenge or resentment, but from understanding. When you reflect, you reclaim authorship of your life. You become both the student and the teacher of your own journey, continually learning, continually evolving, continually choosing to grow beyond blame into wisdom. Resilience is not something we are born with. It is something we build through the quiet choices we make each day. It is the strength that rises when comfort falls away. It is the determination to keep moving forward when every part of you wants to stop. And the foundation of resilience is responsibility. When you take full ownership of your life, you gain the power to shape it. You learn that no storm can truly destroy you as long as you stand firm within yourself. Responsibility teaches you that your strength does not come from what happens to you, but from how you respond to what happens. There are people who wait for the world to change before they begin to live. They wait for kindness before they show grace, for opportunity before they take action, for approval before they believe in themselves. But the resilient soul does not wait. The resilient soul takes responsibility for creating light, even in the darkest room. It says, I will not wait for the world to be kind to me. I will be kind to myself. It says, I cannot control every storm, but I can learn how to dance in the rain. Responsibility gives you the strength to endure, to adapt, and to rise again. When you blame others, you give away your power. When you take responsibility, you reclaim it. It is easy to say, a life is unfair. It is harder to ask, how can I grow stronger from this? But those who ask the harder question are the ones who discover resilience. They learn that pain, though heavy, is also a teacher. It teaches patience, courage, and endurance. It teaches you to trust yourself even when the path is uncertain. True resilience is born in moments of choice. When you decide not to surrender to bitterness, when you choose discipline over despair, effort over excuses. The person who accepts responsibility for their emotions, their actions, and their outcomes is not controlled by circumstances. They become steady in chaos, calm in challenge, and confident in change. They do not crumble because they have learned that everything they need to rise is already within them. When you take responsibility, you begin to build inner strength brick by brick. You start to see failure not as an end, but as a lesson. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" Each time you answer that question honestly, you become more resilient. You discover that strength is not about never falling, but about standing up each time you do. Resilience through responsibility is not about pretending to be unbreakable. It is about knowing that even when you break, you can rebuild. It is the quiet confidence that whispers, "I can handle this," even when no one else believes you can. Taking responsibility turns pain into power, struggle into wisdom, and mistakes into mastery. It transforms you from a survivor into a creator. One who not only endures life, but shapes it with courage, grace, and unwavering strength. Education is not limited to books, classrooms, or certificates. True education begins the moment a person learns to govern their own thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is not enough to know how to read and write. One must learn how to live wisely and responsibly. Moral and emotional education are the pillars that hold the structure of one's character. A person who is intelligent but lacks emotional discipline will struggle to find peace, while a person who understands responsibility and compassion will always rise above challenges. When we talk about responsibility, we are not speaking only of duties given by others. We are speaking of the sacred duty one owes to oneself. Emotional responsibility means recognizing that your feelings, your reactions, and your behaviors belong to you. No one can make you angry without your permission. No one can steal your peace unless you open the door. The educated heart understands this truth and learns to respond to life instead of merely reacting to it. Moral education teaches you that the choices you make ripple far beyond your own life. Every word, every action, every silence has weight. To be responsible is to understand that your behavior can uplift or harm others. It is the ability to pause before speaking, to consider before judging, and to act with kindness even when the world is unkind. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. It takes strength to remain gentle in a harsh world. In every lesson, in every book, in every conversation, there is an opportunity to educate the soul. The greatest teachers are not always found in schools. They are found in life itself. Life will test your patience, challenge your values, and push you towards self-discovery. If you are wise, you will not waste these lessons. You will learn that every difficult person you meet teaches you about tolerance. Every disappointment teaches you about resilience. Every failure teaches you humility. That is the education no institution can offer. The education of the spirit. When a person learns to be responsible for their emotions, they begin to create peace within themselves. When they are at peace, they can bring peace to others. Moral and emotional education shape not just the mind, but the character. A responsible person does not blame others for their feelings. They seek understanding. They do not run from mistakes. They seek correction. They do not act from impulse. They act from principle. Responsibility, morality, and emotional balance are the silent signs of true education. They separate the learned from the wise, the informed from the enlightened. For it is not how much you know that defines your education, but how deeply you live what you know. When you combine knowledge with moral awareness and emotional control, you walk through life with dignity. You become steady, grounded, and capable of turning challenges into lessons. That is the purpose of true education, not just to sharpen the mind, but to strengthen the soul. Every choice we make, no matter how small, sends out a ripple into the world. This is the law of cause and effect, a truth as old as time and as certain as sunrise. Life does not happen by accident. It unfolds according to the seeds we plant through our thoughts, words, and actions. Every decision carries a consequence, and every consequence teaches us something about who we are and what we value. When you begin to understand this, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of life and start recognizing yourself as a participant in it. Too often, people want to believe that luck, fate, or chance determine their lives. They say, "It just happened to me," as if they had no part in it. But life is not a series of coincidences. It is a reflection of the choices you have made. When you speak with kindness, kindness returns to you. When you act with integrity, trust follows. When you sow carelessness, pain often comes as the harvest. The world mirrors back the energy you give it. This is not punishment, it is education. It teaches us accountability through experience. The wise person does not fear this truth, they embrace it. They understand that every cause they create builds the world they live in. They make choices with awareness, knowing that what they send out will find its way back to them. Such awareness gives power because it replaces confusion with clarity. You learn that if you want peace, you must create it. If you want respect, you must give it. If you want growth, you must take action. The law of cause and effect is not meant to scare you. It is meant to awaken you to the power you already hold. When something goes wrong, the unwise person blames others. But the wise one reflects, what choices brought me here? That reflection is the beginning of transformation. You cannot change the past, but you can change your direction. Each moment gives you another chance to make a better choice, to plant a better seed. The garden of your life will always respond to what you plant in it. This understanding frees you from resentment and helplessness. It teaches you that you are not at the mercy of circumstances, but the creator of them. Even pain has its purpose, for it reminds you to choose differently next time. Every failure becomes a teacher. Every success becomes a result of choices made with patience, honesty, and awareness. The cycle of cause and effect is the great equalizer of life. It does not favor the rich or the poor, the strong or the weak. It honors only truth. What you give, you receive. What you create, you face. When you take responsibility for your choices, you begin to write your destiny consciously. And that, more than anything, is the path toward wisdom, understanding that every moment offers a choice and every choice shapes your world. Freedom is often misunderstood. Many believe it is the ability to do whatever one pleases, to act without boundaries or consequence. But real freedom is not found in escape or indulgence. It is found in ownership. The person who takes responsibility for their life is the person who is truly free. When you stop blaming others, when you stop making excuses for your failures and your pain, you reclaim your power. Responsibility is not a chain. It is the key that unlocks your liberation. When you accept that your life is shaped by your choices, you no longer wait for others to rescue you. You stop expecting the world to fix what you refuse to face. You begin to understand that freedom is not something anyone can give you. It is something you must claim. The moment you say, "I am responsible," you step out of the prison of blame and into the field of possibility. You are no longer bound by what others did or did not do. You are no longer trapped in the story of your past. You become the author of your present. There is a quiet power in taking ownership of your emotions, your actions, and your direction. When you own your mistakes, they lose their power to shame you. When you own your dreams, they gain the strength to move you. Responsibility brings clarity. It clears the fog of confusion and excuses that keep so many people stuck. Once you take ownership, you see your life for what it truly is. Not something happening to you, but something happening through you. Excuses are comforting for a time. They shield you from guilt, but they also strip you of growth. Each excuse you make is a door you close to your own potential. Freedom demands honesty. It requires the courage to look at your life and say, "If I want change, I must begin with me." That sentence is the foundation of personal liberation. Because the truth is, no one can live your life for you. No one can feel your pain, make your choices, or fulfill your dreams on your behalf. Freedom belongs to those who are willing to take full ownership of their journey. When you take responsibility, you discover that freedom is not always comfortable. It asks you to be disciplined, to be patient, to be humble enough to admit when you are wrong and wise enough to correct yourself. But in that discomfort lies peace. The peace of knowing that you are in control of your own destiny. You can no longer be manipulated by guilt or by other people's opinions. You learn to live from within, guided by self-awareness rather than blame. Freedom through ownership is the most beautiful kind of freedom there is. It does not depend on luck or circumstance. It is born from courage, sustained by honesty, and strengthened through discipline. When you take responsibility, you set yourself free, not because the world changes, but because you do. An educated mind is not measured by how much it knows, but by how deeply it understands itself. True wisdom is not found in books alone, nor does it come from memorizing facts or repeating lessons. It is born from the quiet practice of self-discipline, reflection, and moral clarity. The purpose of education is not simply to make a person intelligent, but to make them responsible, compassionate, and aware. The educated mind knows that knowledge without integrity is hollow, and intelligence without humility is dangerous. To be truly educated is to take responsibility for the direction of your thoughts and actions. It means learning to govern your emotions instead of being governed by them. It means thinking before you speak, choosing before you act, and standing accountable for the results of those choices. The wise person does not say, "I could not help myself." They say, "I made a choice, and now I will learn from it." That is the mark of true education, not perfection, but awareness. A person may earn degrees and still remain uneducated in the matters of the heart. Real education teaches you to listen before judging, to understand before reacting, and to seek truth over comfort. It teaches you that strength does not come from pride, but from humility, to admit mistakes and to grow from them. A wise and educated mind is one that seeks progress, not praise, purpose, not popularity. It understands that learning is not something that ends with school. It is a lifelong journey of becoming better, kinder, and more conscious. Education, when rooted in moral awareness, guides a person through the storms of life. It helps them recognize that every action carries a consequence and that every decision shapes their destiny. The educated mind does not hide behind excuses or blame. It knows that understanding begins within. Such a mind does not waste energy criticizing others, for it is too busy improving itself. It does not demand respect. It earns it through conduct, consistency, and compassion. Moral clarity is the compass that directs an educated person. It teaches them that doing what is right is more important than doing what is easy. It teaches restraint when anger rises, patience when frustration grows, and forgiveness when others fall. Without moral education, intelligence can become a tool for harm. But with it, intelligence becomes light, guiding, healing, and uplifting. The educated mind does not seek to dominate. It seeks to understand. It builds bridges instead of walls, using knowledge to connect rather than divide. Such a person knows that life's greatest lessons are not written on paper, but written in experience, in the choices that test character, in the moments that demand courage, and in the humility to learn from every fall. That is the true purpose of education, to awaken the mind, to strengthen the soul, and to remind each of us that learning without responsibility is empty, but learning guided by wisdom transforms not only the person, but the world around them. So my child, remember this: the world will try to shape you, challenge you, and sometimes break you, but your response will always be your own. Stand tall in your truth. Take ownership of your choices, your dreams, your growth. Do not hand your power to blame or fear. You are both the student and the sculptor of your own becoming. Walk with dignity, speak with honesty, and live with responsibility, for that is where true freedom, wisdom, and greatness begin.